Good morning. It's Market Day Report. Welcome to another trading day and another trading week. You know, we're just kind of working our way, slogging along through 2025. You look up and we're basically halfway through the month already. And still no USDA reports, so we can't bring you weekly export sales, WASDE, World Ag Supply Demand Estimates reports. So maybe that's going to make the slog, longer, shorter? Not sure, but I do know we traded in the overnight session. And how about that corn market in the overnight? It was a tick higher on the December at 413 and a quarter. We're still in a tight 2.5 cent trade range on the December. It will try to break out today of a 2-day losing streak. It is Columbus Day. However, even though banks and other offices are closed today, markets are trading. November beans overnight 10.09 and a half, up 2 3/4 cents. And again, we'll open up the day session in about 12 minutes. Over to the wheat market, Chicago lower across the board. Front month 495 and a quarter. It was 3 1/4 lower. Hard red was down 2 on the December old crop at 481. Spring wheat contracts were mixed in the overnight session, and the cotton market up 17 at 64.01 in the overnight. Brian Hoops is president, Midwest Market Solutions. I'm just looking at the trends here for our row crops. Corn down 2. Wheat down 2, cotton down 2, consecutive closes lowered. Will they try to break out of that today, and will they have the power to do it?
Well, that's a good question. Do they have the power to sustain any rallies? And it's unlikely that we will. You know, you have, as you mentioned, the government offices are closed, 13 days now of a government shutdown, but we would be closed anyway because of Columbus Day. Banks and holiday are observing this holiday. Grain markets are trading, but government offices would be closed. Now, we can suspect that if we had a crop progress number this afternoon, we'd be getting close to 50% harvested on corn, maybe closer to 40. Soybeans are probably over 50. They're probably close to 60% harvested. And once you hit that 50% mark, then you usually start to see the seasonal tendencies improve a little bit. Harvest pressure starts to not weigh on the market quite as heavily. So if anything's going to close higher, maybe it's the soybeans. Of course, we had a lot of pressure on Friday into the closing bell. President Trump, President Xi kind of are at war again, and President Trump called off the meeting with the Chinese president, citing there's no reason to talk. Now, tensions eased quite a bit over the weekend. Scott Bessent made some comments that suggested things maybe are going to be okay. President Trump indicated things would be okay, not to worry. But still, there's no trade agreement. There's really no talks to have a trade agreement. And until we have that, it's going to be hard to sustain any type of rally, especially in soybeans, where yields are coming in probably better than expected in almost every case. And we just don't have much demand for these soybeans. So it's going to be a struggle. Thankfully, we're able to, not push a lot lower, have a lot of follow through selling from Friday. Stock market really recovered in the overnight. Gold and silver really pushing higher here this morning amid the uncertainty. And then, so the greens are able to move a little bit higher. They don't have a lot of additional selling at this point in time.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned gold and silver, as gold all-time highs again in the overnight session. And then silver prices as we move now into all-time highs there. Speaking of all-time highs, Brian, even though we've been hitting them here in the precious metals, there's another ag space where we're hitting all-time highs as well. So we'll take a break. We'll come back and find out what those markets are. This is Market Day Report. You know, if we keep seeing rallies like we saw on Friday and, like we saw all last week, I'll have to borrow some digits from Jennifer because we're up to 6 consecutive closes higher now for our cattle market. That's both live and feeders. Let's go to live cattle. This is how we settled on Friday, and I'll just let you know, all-time highs have been reached now. That April contract hit 247.52, and that's a new all-time high for live cattle. Now, we settled the December at 242.60, so that's still, what, $4 or $5 away, but 270 higher on the December contract. Speaking of all-time highs, here's another one as we hit 376.75 on the November contract. That's a new all-time high, and we settled at 376.60, up 255. Hogs, though, are going the opposite direction, down 4 straight sessions, lower across the board. Brian Hoops is with Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, interesting because you tie that in with what we saw in cash trade. You know, Packers tried to push all of it into Friday, and then the tables turned and, well, didn't get helped by the river at all if you're using some card game topics here, you know, words. But the idea was Packers were hoping to get it done at the end of the week, and it didn't go well.
No, it really didn't for them. Futures, you know, were sold off quite a bit on Friday. We had talked Friday morning that maybe we had seen such strong gains into Thursday that maybe that was enough for the week, waiting for that cash trade, and futures sold off on some profit taking. But by the closing bell, we were seeing stronger cash trade, and the futures ripped higher once again. Big type of reversals in the feeder cattle, huge ranges over $7 just on Friday alone. Cash trade in the north was higher. Really didn't get much cash trade information out of the southern plains, and that's because the Packers were bidding above last week's cash, the previous week's cash. Feedlots were not takers. They wanted more money than what the Packers were offering, and they just held their ground and waiting for higher prices. So we may see some early week cash trade, kind of a cleanup early part of this week because they didn't get very many cattle bought, especially in the south. But slaughter pace is way down from a week ago, over 12,000 head, compared to a year ago, it's over 44,000 head. So we are going to prop up the boxes with those smaller kill numbers, no doubt about it. Cash hogs were mostly lower for the week last week, and futures did not like the action. They broke through support, closing below it on Friday. We could see a little bit of recovery here, but October goes off the board this week, leaving December at a huge discount to that index, which is hovering right around $100. So we're, you know, $14 to $17 discount, depending upon where the futures want to trade at today.
Yeah, and again, just this has been so interesting to watch, and the Packers trying to find any way to stay in the black here could get interesting. Brian, great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Brian Hoops is with Midwest Market Solutions.